This is understandable politics. Hello, the frost has arrived, and Poland is once again covered in smog. This is how Polish cities look now. In some areas, pollution levels have reached colossal numbers. For example, in the town of Otwock, it's 923% of the norm. Every year, residents suffer from toxic emissions, and every year the country's energy sector is unprepared for this. One of the dirtiest countries in the EU has reached this state largely by choice. Ecology has been left far behind politics. As a result, Poles have turned on their stoves to full power. They found themselves in a fog and started poisoning themselves.
The problem has been around for years, but apparently it's more important to teach democracy to Belarus and torment migrants at the border.
Fingers lit up red in Warsaw at the end of January. It's not even fog, but thick smog covering several districts of the Polish capital. Problem number one, the city services didn't even warn the locals.
The sensors went crazy. At some stations, readings of 400 or even 500 micrograms of harmful PM2.5 dust per hour were recorded, while the daily norm is set at 25. Similar were the PM10 particle readings. Here, the norm is twice as high. Such values, marked in dark red with the label unsafe, alarmed the locals.
This situation caused real panic among the locals. People began blaming all emerging illnesses from sinusitis to cancer on that very smog and red sensors.
The panic then spread to Krakow, and everyone remembered the 2019 decree when the authorities imposed a complete ban on burning solid fuels, coal, wood, and other materials. But with bills of €300 just for heating, you'll start burning anything.
The main reason for Krakow's smog is solely related to the heating season. In Krakow, there are many old houses without central heating, and people heat with coal the old-fashioned way. These are mostly private houses on the outskirts and in the suburbs. Coal heating of homes is the main cause of air pollution. Moreover, there are many irresponsible people who burn not only coal, but all their trash in their stoves.
A similar situation is currently in many cities. The country even developed a special mobile app, popularly called Black Mask. And on the internet, Poland is called a strange smokehouse.
In Poland, the essence of buying coal often boils down not to its quality, but to trying to save money. And cheaper coal is of lower quality, so there's no deception. If you need worse quality, who knows for what purpose, pay less. Better quality, pay more. When the realization finally comes that cheaper coal gives less heat exactly by the price difference, the homeowner with 5 tons of bad coal, instead of buying 3 tons of good coal for the same money, starts inventing options and various tricks. In Polish, this is called kombinować, meaning to scheme.
On monitoring sites, you can barely see the western neighbor, just a dense cloud of fog.
In 2021, Warsaw ranked second in the world for pollution levels after Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh. According to the international portal IQ Air, 3 Polish cities are among the most polluted: Warsaw, Wrocław, and Krakow. The average index is over 100. This is harmful air for normal life.
Besides coal, they have nothing left, so as it gets colder, Poles burn more coal. They burn coal, using all capacities for this, including massively outdated capacities from the 80s, 70s, and 60s. Furnaces without filters naturally puff, naturally smoke, naturally raise this heavy smog over Polish cities with a colossal mixture of heavy metals and huge carbon dioxide emissions. But what else to do? Wood is expensive, and there's no gas.
There are two components to this story. First, the structure of Polish energy, where coal accounts for 70%. The country has long been criticized for the huge amount of coal generation in its energy balance.
Poland is one of the largest coal producers in Europe, extracting about 70 million tons a year. Coal power plants produce 70% of the country's energy. But the main problem is that some of them are pre-war and some were built during post-war reconstruction when no one even thought about environmental standards.
But while Europe threatened Poles with environmental standards and a green agenda, Warsaw was in no hurry to make serious changes. Meanwhile, year after year, the infrastructure only gets worse.
The lifespan of many facilities has long expired, making them not only inefficient, but also extremely dangerous from an environmental standpoint. Even the relatively new Belchatow coal power plant commissioned in the 80s is notorious for huge emissions of sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, particulates, mercury, and carbon dioxide. They create smog, which in winter months becomes especially dense, exceeding permissible air pollution levels. The second reason only worsened the first and lies in the political plane.
In 2022, Poland imposed an embargo on Russian coal, but finding a replacement proved difficult. Here are comments from that time.
In recent months, the Polish government has tried to establish supplies from other countries to replace lost Russian coal. However, what is replacing Russian fuel is of quality below any criticism. What arrives is some coal waste, says a Gdansk port employee. We know well what coal looks like. It was supposed to be of good quality, but what comes is coal dust.
Instead of Russian fuel, they had to buy second-rate coal. Coal, and it's this very material that heats every third Polish home today.
They import whatever they can get their hands on, just to calm the market for a while. Our drivers call and say that black sludge is pouring out of the machines, reports Polish journalist Matej Orlowski. He reminds that previously about 20% of Poland's coal needs were covered by imports, with 65% of this import coming from Russia. Polish coal turned out to be too expensive. When in mid-April, amid anti-Russian sentiments, the government announced an embargo on coal from Russia, it did not ensure supplies from other sources. The embargo law came into force immediately, unlike in other EU countries, where there was a delay allowing for stockpiling. As a result, it soon became apparent that coal disappeared from the market, and the prices of what remained broke all records, complains Orlowski.
Millions of households in Poland use coal for heating. Imagine if it suddenly disappeared altogether or was no longer available at a reasonable price.
The decision to impose an embargo on Russian coal was made almost overnight, recklessly and thoughtlessly. Thus, the Polish authorities subjected entrepreneurs involved in coal imports, as well as those who use coal for heating homes, to significant losses.
As a result, fearing public anger over the energy crisis, the authorities will temporarily allow residents to heat homes with toxic lignite, which is dangerous for both health and the environment.
It's known that this carbon is one of the most polluting types of solid fuel, and its efficiency is lacking. To replace a ton of hard coal, you need to use 3 tons of lignite. This winter in Poland also saw a record frost of -40 degrees, and Polish households resorted not only to coal, but also to coal waste.
We don't think about our independence. We don't think about our future. And we don't even think about ordinary people, ordinary Poles, for whom the most important thing is cost. And just for politics in Poland, it is, I think, if I look at it, it is a reason, it is an idea to show Western politicians how you need people like us in Poland. But I, a Pole, and the Polish people just want politicians who will work for Poland, not for other countries.
The cost of lignite is 4 to 5 times lower than hard coal, but environmentalists say it's not suitable for burning in small boilers and stoves. When burned, it releases a lot of sulfur dioxide, and its impact on humans in large doses, warns the WHO, is very dangerous and leads to serious poisoning.
Scientists from the Białystok Medical University found that the mix of harmful chemicals in the air over Poland is more toxic than in other parts of the world, and it's especially harmful to young and middle-aged women. Polish scientists analyzed data from 8 million residents of 5 eastern voivodeships.
Studies conducted over 10 years show that nearly 25,000 heart attacks and ischemic strokes could have been avoided over decades in eastern Poland alone by reducing air pollution to health standard levels.
Several years later, the situation hasn't changed drastically. Poland continues to turn away from Russia and continues to emit toxic smoke, affecting neighbors. Germany is already suffocating and blaming everything. Of course, Poland...
Due to harmful emissions, pollution levels in German cities exceed the permissible limit by more than twice. Authorities recommend vulnerable populations avoid outdoor activities. A dense cloud of smog arrived from Polish coal power plants and private stoves, writes Bild.
Such dirty air hasn't been in Germany for at least several years. The Federal Environment Agency called its quality extremely poor.
Experts claim that up to 50% of air pollution in Berlin on certain days can be linked to cross-border emissions from Poland. Uta Dauert from the Federal Environment Agency of Germany, heading the Air Quality Assessment Department, estimated that currently about 50% of particulates in Berlin come from Poland. Reports show that air pollution from Polish sources may cause 1,000 premature deaths a year in neighboring countries.
Health risks are a separate topic. Air pollution worldwide. Approximately 7 million people die prematurely each year. These are WHO data. In turn, the European Environment Agency ranks Poland second in the EU for mortality related to air quality.
Air quality in cities is one of the main environmental and health issues facing Poland. As reported by RIA Novosti, criticism from European environmental organizations, regular smog, and an increase in patients with lung diseases forced Polish authorities to reduce coal use in energy. Thus, from 2023, Warsaw residents are banned from heating homes with coal and using uncertified heating devices. But apparently, many Poles still use stoves. In Warsaw and surrounding municipalities, more than 40,000 old stoves are still in use, often kept as a backup heat source.
An increase in respiratory diseases, cardiovascular diseases, and cancer. Smog also triggers asthma and heart attacks. But what can ordinary people do? They can't freeze. So they continue to use illegal stoves and warm themselves with cheap coal, deriving a simple formula: the colder it gets, the stronger. The deadly smog.
As noted earlier by Krakow Wyborcza, there are over 3 million stoves in Poland, and they still burn not only coal, but also coal waste and trash. As a result, a brown suspension hangs over Poland containing a toxic cocktail of dust, heavy metals, sulfur, and nitrogen compounds. The most polluted cities, as shown by Krakow Wyborcza, are Krakow, Poznan, Wrocław, and Warsaw.
Tourists are shocked that Polish cities are drowning in smoke. Such discussions on travel forums are not uncommon.
Tell me, is the environment bad everywhere in Poland? I'm in Rzeszów, and in the evening from around 7 p.m., you can't go outside or open the windows. It smells terribly of smoke and there's smog. I guess this will be the case for the entire heating season. In Poland, every second house is heated with coal. Unfortunately, that's true. Mostly, yes.
Here's another resource dedicated to life in Krakow, detailing the city's main and most dangerous problem.
The greatest danger for Krakow's residents is smog. Smog is a mixture of smoke, fog, and dust. This mixture negatively affects human health. To better understand, you need to know the grim statistics. In Poland, 45,000 people die each year from diseases caused by smog. Another 10% of the population suffers from asthma. Smog is caused by dust that settles on cars and enters homes through open windows.
It turns out that Poland is literally killing Europe. What modernization of the industry can there be? It's better to spend budgets on Ukraine, following the general trend, and on their military-industrial complex, buying more weapons, while hundreds of thousands of Poles are suffocating in their cities.
Many Poles still heat their stoves with coal, yes, in the 21st century. The Polish government is trying to encourage its citizens to use alternative energy sources, but it's not going well. Coal is still one of the cheapest fuels in Poland. They plan to completely ban it in cities by 2030 and in villages by 2040, and this is unlikely to please the Poles. Already, heating a private house of 130 square meters in Poland costs more than 2,000 euros a year, while the average salary in Poland is 18,000 euros a year. And you still have to pay for electricity, water, taxes, and buy groceries.
The government seems to have plans, and they try to calm society with ambitious goals, but in any case, it will be a while before Poles can breathe easier. Not anytime soon.
The Polish authorities plan to reduce coal's share in energy to 8% by 2040. Renewable energy sources will provide 50% by then. The Polish government intends to allocate 726 billion zlotys, nearly $170 billion, for the green transformation. 86% of this amount will go to investments in nuclear power, wind energy, and photovoltaics.
Yes, you heard right. Poland wants to turn to peaceful nuclear energy. Poles wanted to build their nuclear power plant back in the 50s. They started several times, but then froze the project. The last deadline was 2020, but it was postponed.
They delayed the decision, argued for a long time about reactor capacities and contractors. There was no consensus in society either. Under Donald Trump, an agreement was signed for Americans to build 6 reactors in Poland. However, the change in administration in the White House stalled the project again.
To hell with it. It seems that's what the high offices think about reforms. Which government wants to deal with Polish miners? If you take away their jobs, you might lose yours too, without a portfolio.
However, changes in policy have led to a lack of funds for any modernization of the coal industry in Poland. The key issue has become the balance between environmental goals and economic stability. The coal industry, while being the dirtiest, provides jobs for hundreds of thousands of people, and its closure could lead to mass unemployment and social unrest. According to various estimates, closing coal mines and power plants will cost Poland 70 billion euros. In the coming decades, not counting indirect costs for retraining workers and restructuring the economies of coal-dependent regions. Such funds are not available in Poland's budget, and the EU won't help them with this. They spent their peace fund on the war in Ukraine.
In such a sad situation, there's only one consolation. Because Polish smog is heavy, its movement into Belarus is almost impossible. But admit it, it's surprising. A country that tries to lead Europe telling us how to live essentially remains at the beginning of the 20th century in terms of energy development. In Belarus, if anything, they throw Polish advice on democracy and freedom of speech into the furnace.
Goodbye.